Hello and welcome to Story Behind the Story, where romance readers and authors connect. I'm Reese Rand, author of sexy, emotional romantic fiction featuring lots of family drama, surprising secrets, and a cast of complicated, sometimes messy characters. If you are new here, thank you so much for joining us. And whether you're here for the first time or not, if you're not a subscriber, I ask that you subscribe at the red button below if you want to be part of more reader-centered author conversations like the one I'm about to have today with the amazing Miss Beverly Jenkins. So please do that. And if you're excited as I am about having Miss Bev join us today, by all means, make sure you hit the like button. And we just have so much to talk about today that we're just going to get into it. And so, normally, if you've been here before, you know I'm not a big fan of reading bios, but there's just so much to talk about with Miss Bev, right? So it kicked off with the publication of Night Song in 1994, and she's just been a prolific author ever since then. So for 25 years plus, she's been delivering gripping historical and contemporary romance that features strong, determined heroines and mouth-watering heroes that we can't get enough of, while also shining a light on little-known historical facts. Her engaging stories and memorable characters continue to move readers, and she is the recipient of the RWA Nora Roberts Lifetime Achievement Award, as well as a nominee of the NAACP Image Award. And she's been featured in documentaries like Love Between the Covers and then featured on CBS this morning, Sunday morning. So she's had so much going on. She's accomplished so much in her career. And then she's a straight shooter, down to earth, a staunch advocate for multicultural romance. And so she is adored by readers, reviewers, and fellow authors. So we're super excited to have Miss Beverly Jenkins joining us here today. So let me go ahead and bring her on.
Hey there.
Hello there, Miss
How are you?
Beverly.
Thank
Thank
you for
you
having
so much.
me.
Oh, you just don't know how excited we all are to have you here.
I'm glad to be
Truly,
here.
truly. So let me start by asking you, how are you holding up today and
I,
all of y'all out there? Because I know things are a bit crazy, y'all. So
yeah, things is crazy, especially here, but we finally got a official declaration for Biden. So we're moving now. We're leaving it up to everybody else to, put him over the top. But it's been a crazy day. So I'm I'm good. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Hopefully it'll be a lot calmer.
yes, I'm hoping for that as well. And maybe I'll peek my head out and actually look at some news
There
and
you go.
stuff starting tomorrow. So let me just jump right into it. You have an incredible publishing career full of so many wonderful accomplishments and well-deserved accolades that spans 26 years and counting. So, like I said, there's so much that I want to talk to you about tonight. But for anybody who isn't familiar with you or familiar with your bibliography, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you write.
Um, my name is Beverly Jenkins. I'm from Detroit. First book published in 1994, which is Night Song, which I think was the first African American historical from a major publisher. I think. Um, what else? Been out here 26 years, um, writing books, hopefully making the path wider for people coming up behind me.
For sure.
Um, Having a good time, giving you what I call edutainment, entertainment and education, giving you a great story and a lot of little known American history facts because I think that African American history, all the history tied to marginalized people in this country is American history, even if it's not taught in the schools. So doing that and, Facebook and Twitter and, speaking and all of that. I love what I do.
And we appreciate it too, because that comes through the fact that you love what you do, both in the stories that you write and just everything that you do. So, with every superhero, they have an origin story. So tell us, how did you get your start in writing romance?
Um, the first book, I wasn't writing for publication. I've told that story before that, I just sort of fell into this. I was writing it just for me because back then this was, I'm a woman of a certain age. So, hello, Robert Zimmerman, how are you? Um, None of the movies or any of the romantic books or any of that um, featured women who look like me and my sisters, my aunties, and my mom. So I was just writing on the side for me. I've always loved a good romantic story and a good romantic movie. And so it was just something that I did after work. My dream job was working in a library, and I was doing that at the time. So when a girlfriend challenged me to get that first manuscript published, I had no idea how to do it, where to do it, because the market was basically closed to people who look like me. Found my agent. um, Took us about, I don't know, I want to say 2 years to sell it. I always say I got enough rejections to paper the kitchens of everybody that we know and their mamas. Um, Publishers were saying great writing, but the but had to do with a 19th century story that I had written that didn't involve slavery.
Mhm.
So they had no box for it. But eventually it was published in July of 1994, along with the amazing women of Arabesque, who were also doing their thing, and they were writing contemporaries. We call that the Summer of Black Love. And so they're writing, I'm doing historicals, and many of them are still writing, and I'm still writing, and we're here talking to Reese. So that's the short version of a 26-year career. And as I said, I love what I do. I love romance. I love the industry. I love the people. Um, some of the, back behind the scenes stuff is kind of crazy, but we keep doing our HEAs. I mean, if we don't agree about anything else, we all agree how important the HEA is. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's much needed, especially these days.
Oh yeah.
So, reader Stephanie Perkins had a great question. She said, "Did you choose historicals or did they choose you?"
Historicals chose me. I mean, it was the first manuscript. Well, you won't even call it a manuscript. The first story I sent in, and I tell this a lot too. That thing was so bad. Oh my God. It was so bad that, I tell people that when I took it to the post office, the rejection letter almost beat me home. That's how bad it was. So that was a contemporary. It wound up being my first romantic suspense, though, but it was like 12 years later. It wound up being Edge of Midnight.
Wow.
But I tell people, they say, well, why you write historical? I said, well, that's the first thing that sold.
Mm.
Um, and obviously, I guess they thought I did it well. So they kept offering me contracts. So I kept writing the books. But yeah, that oh, that first book was so bad. Jesus. Um,
It gives me hope for my Under the Bed books, though, because
oh
you were able to
yeah.
revive it, and 12 years later, it became.
Yeah. Well, and the the thing was, it wasn't time for that book.
Mm.
What I didn't know was that Indigo had to be published first. Indigo was published in 1996. Indigo had to be published first because the characters in that awful, awful, awful first manuscript were the descendants of Indigo, of Hester
Wow.
Galen. So
Wow.
sometimes, things are, what you may want is, we playing God laughs, and God was laughing for like 12 years on this book. So um, yeah, so historicals chose me, and I love the history. I love sharing it. I grew up with it in my home. I tell people my mama was black before it was fashionable. So I grew up with, African American history in my home. So when it came to, after Ellen Edwards bought the original Night Song um, manuscript, I tell people I had 700 pages of nothing but heat. And she was like, okay, well, we love the love scenes, but we need a story. So I was like, damn, I gotta write a story. So um, it didn't make much sense to me to create a story with African American leads and paint it against a majority background.
Mm.
I knew that our history was deep and wide and it had the scope and all that. And so I just, dusted off those librarian skills and got the history that I knew was out there and painted my story against an African American background. And here we are,
I love it.
41 books and 8 novellas later, something like that.
Wow. I was going to ask you how many you had. So it's 41 books and 8 novels. Wow.
I think you got to ask the fans. They know I always have to call on them. I need to have them whenever I go because they can answer questions that
So
I
that
can't go ahead and
segues
remember.
perfectly into my next question is
Uh-huh.
if somebody is discovering you, let's say for the first time, because I actually had somebody say that they hadn't read anything of yours.
Okay.
So if somebody is discovering you for the first time, which book would you recommend they start with and why?
Um, the fans would say Indigo. They do that a lot. They always recommend Indigo. I recommend Topaz
Mm.
um, because it's a Western, which is one of my loves. Um, it's funny. It's laugh out loud, fall on the floor, laughing kind of thing. But it's also very, very informative, historically wise. It's also very poignant in places. It's just a good time. It's just, and the guys, because I have a lot of guys who read my work.
Oh, that's
I,
great.
yeah, and I always recommend Topaz to them because I think that they would like the westerns, and they do. So, so I would recommend Topaz, and for contemporaries, I do Deadly Sexy and Edge of Dawn because I get to blow shit up and there's car chases and black op helicopters and
You
bombs
like that?
and saint in that coat. I tell my agent, I said, if anybody ever comes sniffing around for contemporaries, to always push Edge of Dawn because as my daughter says, Mom, when are you gonna make the movie where the lady drives the SUV through the front of the 7-Eleven? So which is one of the scenes in there. She has to save the hero, so she drives that Escalade through the front of the 7-Eleven. So yeah, I love that.
My gosh. That is awesome. Great list for anybody who's looking as to where they can start. So then you talked about the fact that you have this amazing 26-year career. What are some of your fondest memories over that career?
The very first signing
Mm.
was at B. Dalton in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I think it was a B. Dalton. Yeah, B. Dalton in Ann Arbor, Michigan. It's either B. Dalton or stupid phone.
That's
Um,
what happens when you're popular.
it's like, stop it. Go over there. Um, the very first signing, and it was the Buffalo Soldiers, the book, Night Song. Buffalo Soldiers and an Oberlin educated school teacher are the two main leads. So I did some research with some of the local Buffalo Soldier reenactors who were members of our state police here. So they came to the signing,
Wow.
and they had their their uniforms and their guns, and I can't remember whether there were horses there or not. I don't know. I don't remember,
Wow.
but they had their swords. And then Kendall McCarthy, who was on the cover, um, them women didn't care anything about me. I mean, they were walking over me to get to him. He had a big stack of black and white glossies. Um, and they were like, who are you? We just want to, get next to this very, very fine gentleman here. Um, so that stands out a lot. I mean, that whole first year of going around and going to different bookstores and talking to people around the country and sort of establishing the base.
Yeah. I can imagine
It
how exciting that must have been.
was, and I had never flown before. Um, and my first flight was to Cleveland, which from Detroit,
That's where I'm from.
is it? Okay. So from here it's like 8 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So, well, not really 8 minutes, but it felt like 8 minutes. And so I was 44. Had never been on a plane. American Express hooked up my travel, and they had me in first class. So here I am, first time, little black girl from Detroit on a plane. I'm in first class. I was like, whoa, inside. But, outside is very calm. Like, I've been first class all the time, so um, that was memorable too. But the whole thing has been just an amazing journey. The Nora Roberts Award, Love Between the Cover. I mean, she showed up on me and my girlfriends went to Charleston for my 60th birthday, and Lori called me. Lori Kahn, who's the director, called and said, she wanted me to be in this movie, and what am I doing on this weekend? And I said, well, I'm gonna be in Charleston with my girlfriends. And she wanted to know, well, can I come? I said, well, if you want to pay your way, sure. So she showed up with her cameraman and her sound guy. They followed us around all weekend and then came to the house and filmed the house and had all my friends here for we're watching football, and she did some of the stuff at the church. And so I've it's been an amazing journey. It's been an amazing journey.
Wow, that was a great documentary, and I remember all of those scenes. I remember going to see it screened, I think, at the Durham Library here. I was so excited about that documentary. It was so good. It was so good.
It really was.
I
Brenda
remember,
did
and I think the line of yours I remember the most from that is where you talk about how a lot of people say they can't relate to black characters, but they can relate to like vampires and stuff.
yes, shape shifters, but they got issues with black people. I'm like, really?
Yeah, and that
Get
was
your
one of the
life.
things that stuck in my head because I was like, yes, yes, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So yes, I was like that's what we always count on Miss Bear for, to just be out there and just tell it like it is. So
Somebody got to do it.
so again, that comment segues me into another question,
Okay.
because we know that you've had all these great moments in your career, but I'm sure you've had lots of challenges too. So what have some of those challenges been, and how have you been able to overcome them?
I haven't had a lot of challenges. I mean, the racism in the industry, of course, is a challenge. But, like Toni Morrison says, racism is just there to distract you,
Mm.
because you can never measure up because they're always moving the goalposts and all that. So, so my job was to just write books.
Right.
I knew who I was writing for. I knew, I guess I could write. They kept offering me contracts. So obviously, something was happening. Um, but you can either piss and moan and not work, or bring your chair and put it at the table, or bring a chair and a table and put yourself wherever you're going to be
I heard that.
and do your job and keep it moving.
Mm.
I've been blessed to have had great editors. Nobody ever told me, no, you can't write about that, or change this character, or no, you can't say that. So I think that sort of balanced um, the racism that, was inherent in everything in America, as we can tell by this election. So, and when you start out, you see, the bigger authors, and they're doing stuff, and I want to be sent on tour, and I want, I want to do that too, so and I couldn't let that distract me either.
Mm.
Even though, we all feel that. So, and eventually it happened, because they kept offering me contracts. They had to do something with me, So uh, I tell, people coming up, just keep writing. Just keep writing good books. I got my break because I'm a smoker. I was out.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's crazy. Stuff just happens to me. I just fall into shit. Um, was at the the Avon dinner in Dallas one year, and I'm out smoking with this woman. I had no idea who she was, and she and I were having a great conversation, um, and went out a couple times because if you're a smoker, you're not gonna just go out once. You're gonna go out there a couple, maybe 3-4 times. And I found out she was the head of marketing.
Wow.
And she called me up, that Monday, and she said, "Well, Bev, I looked you up, and we haven't done a whole lot for you." She said, "And I was very, very impressed by you."
Wow.
So
So
that
you were
changed.
already published with them at the time.
Yeah,
Wow.
I had been with them for forever,
Wow.
and this was right after my husband passed away. So so this was old. He passed away in 03, so this must have been early 04. And I had been with them since 94.
Wow.
Okay. So
Wow.
meeting her sort of changed the trajectory of my career in that way. And then we got a new publicity people. And even if I turn this thing, hold on a minute here. Let me.
I always forget to turn my do not disturb on, which I
Well,
forgot.
it's the stupid
I
snooze.
hope nobody FaceTimes me, right?
It's the stupid snooze on the phone. Anyway, the publicity people changed, and Pam Jeffrey is just an amazing, amazing woman, and the whole everything around me became a lot more Bev centered,
Mm.
because she tries to make sure that we all get part of the light, as opposed to just the big authors, and then the little authors don't get anything. But Pam's been really, really good about trying to make the light as even as possible, because that's how you build your career too. Is being discovered and being at events that maybe young authors would not have been at when I first started. So,
Mhm.
um, but your job is to write good books,
Right. Absolutely.
so, and you let the rest of the stuff take care of itself. Because who knows, you may be out smoking with somebody who turns out to be the marketing director.
But that makes a good point too. That I think a lot of times, authors of color don't get a chance to be at events or in networking situations.
Yeah,
And like you said, you have been with that author for 10 years. For that with that
yeah,
publisher for
yeah,
10 years, and it
yeah,
wasn't until you had this conversation with this marketing person that things changed. So
yeah, yeah.
especially like a lot of us are introverts, and so
Right.
I can be very sociable, but at the same time, I'm also can be super happy in my house.
Yeah.
So, for a lot of us as introverts, it might be, a little hard to start up a conversation or something at an event or even to want to go to an event like that. But it can be so beneficial to a person's career. It really can.
Oh yeah. And one of the I would go to RWA National, and I didn't go inside until 2016. I was outside the whole time. And it's sort of like, how the rich white guys do business on the golf course.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Okay. So in the years between, because they made me join RWA. I didn't want to join RWA. But, my head was like, join RWA so they can make. I said, they ain't gonna award my book. What is wrong with you? So I joined anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I spent my whole time. For me, national was for rest, relaxation, and room service.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go to any workshops. I held court outside.
Mm-hmm.
So, and at that point, it was a whole bunch of people that were smoking back then. So you were out there and you networked with editors, publicity people. I mean, that's how I know everybody in RWA is because we were out there smoking. And they're like, "Oh, Miss Bev, you still out here?" Yes, I'm still out here. So um, any opportunity that you can have to network, you don't necessarily have to smoke, but you have to get over that introvert stuff. You got to sell your pizza because when you're a mid-list author, the only person that's going to sell your pizza is you. So put that little, as I used to tell my daughter when she was first started going to daycare, put your fear behind your heart and let the heartbeat break it down into little bitty pieces, and you'll be fine.
Oh, I like that.
So if you're an introvert and I am not belittling people who are introverts because I know it's a real thing for them. Me, I never met a stranger or a motor or a microphone I did not like. But everybody's not me. So, try and handle your fear in any way, the best way that you can, and promote yourself. Because that's important too. I mean, if the light is shining on you, you want to be able to do whatever it is you need to do to broaden that base, to get publicity to see you, get the marketing people to see you. It should not be this difficult, but it is. Especially
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah. I,
So
I I have to say that it definitely seems like the period that seemed to really take off for me was okay. So this is terrible. So I didn't actually read Shonda Rhimes' Year of Yes book, but I like the concept of it.
there you
And
go.
so I was like, you know what? I'm always like talking myself out of stuff. I'm gonna just say yes to everything. And so kind of like for 2 years, I was just like saying yes to all these different opportunities that I
Yeah,
would normally have turned down out of self-doubt and fear.
right.
And like that's when things started to really kind of take off for me. It felt like
Yeah.
I think I'm at a point now where I need to start saying no to some stuff.
Hmm.
Because,
Yep, yep, yep.
but that doing that, pushing past that fear and saying, okay, I'm just going to do it anyway, definitely did help me. I think move forward, make a lot of connections and things like that. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just the old saying, if you're scared, join the church. So
So you talked about like the networking and stuff. So the next question I was going to ask you is, because this industry can be very fickle, what do you credit with your longevity in the career in your career? What?
writing good books, because that's all you have.
There you go.
That's all you have. You don't have whatever. I mean, you don't have a scalpel. You don't have a degree in whatever. You don't have. All you have is your gift and your ability to tell stories, and that's what you're measured by. You can be cute. You can be whatever. You can be snarky. You can be and all that, but don't nobody care. Readers only want what you have written today,
Mm,
because tomorrow they're gonna be looking for the next book.
true that.
Okay, so the only thing that you're measured by is what you write and how you write it. And and I consciously try not to write the same book, because you got some authors, not necessarily in romance, who all they do is change the names.
Mm,
Okay. Um, and our readers have so many choices. They don't have to read
hmm.
stuff that's not quote unquote original.
Right.
We all got the same tropes, but it's like, how do you spin that in a way that makes it fresh and new, and readers want to just fall all over you and get the next book.
Mm.
So yeah.
Well, well, I was going to ask you what advice you would give to other authors who want to have a lengthy career like you have had. That's a good start right there.
Yeah, I mean,
Write good books.
that's all there is. I mean, they don't care if, like I said, they don't care if you're cute. They don't care if you got on 8-inch heels, or you at national doing whatever it is you're doing. The important thing is, what have you written for me, the reader, that I can connect with, that I can put on my keeper shelf, that I can, pull down in a pandemic and be comforted.
Mm.
Um, or I can pull down. Somebody said last night that they were turning off the TV and grabbing an old Miss Bev book
No.
to,
Yeah.
to comfort them. And I was like, okay, because we are only measured by the stories that we tell. Um, we're not measured by anything else. So
Yeah.
that's
That's
my
what it comes
story.
down to, right?
Yes, that's my story, and I'm sticking to that.
So we've seen a lot of pushback in the last couple of years in the for change and stuff in the romance industry,
Mm.
and we have seen a lot of different changes. But on the other hand, some things are sadly still the same. So, what are some of the biggest changes you've seen in your career, and what are some of the changes you expect to or hope to see in the future?
One of the biggest changes I've seen is y'all. Okay. Um, when we first started, I mean, when Sandra Kit and Elsie and them started back in the day in the early 90s, late 80s, I mean, you could count the number of us on one hand.
Mm,
Um, and then Airbus came, and you could count us on maybe two hands.
mm.
And me, it was just one finger.
Yes, you were all alone historical.
Well, I think Shirley Kelstock did one, and then Gail Gunn, Nowhere to Run, I think was the title. There were a few, but for a long time, for the quote unquote major publishers, it was just me.
Mm,
So, okay, I blanked on where I was going with this. Oh, changes. So
Yes.
now that um, African American romance is a very, very strong branch of the romance tree, you guys are a dream come true.
Mm.
Dream come true. Um, and you're writing every damn thing. And I was telling and not just romance. I mean, just everything.
Yeah.
And I was telling the young women who are writing the fantasy, they gonna put me in the poorhouse.
That's what I was gonna name when you said not just romance. It's a lot. It's some amazing
It's
Black fantasy
amazing.
authors.
It's
Yeah.
an amazing time to be, in spite of all the crap
Mm,
with publishers and diversity and all that. It's an amazing time to be an African American creative in the publishing world right now because there are more here than there have ever been in 25 years. And I'd like to credit um, the ladies who were doing the indie
mm-hmm. Yes.
because they made publishers sit up and go, "Oh, we're leaving a whole lot of money on the table."
Right.
I mean, and they still are leaving money on the table.
Mm-hmm.
But ladies like Manx Malone was so giving and so, you know, such a great writer. Um, those women made publishing change, even though publishing didn't want to change.
Right.
Okay. So all of y'all coming up behind me, you and Alyssa and Rebecca Witherspoon and El Penelope, and I mean everybody. You are the people I've been dreaming about for a long ass time. So thank y'all for finally showing up and showing out because the genre needs you, and not just Black readers, the genre as a whole, because you are showing love in all its finery.
Oh.
Everybody who is, I mean, all the identities. Um, love is love is love is love. We know that, but that hasn't always been highlighted. Um, so y'all keep doing what y'all doing. And when I go to the great convention in the sky,
Oh no. We
I
don't even
won't be
on that.
worried about um, the state of African American romance because I know it's in good hands. Um, you guys are, you know, doing well, doing a great damn job.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That is so amazing for you to say that. So we
That's true.
appreciate that. And we definitely appreciate not only the example that you set and the work that you put in, but how welcoming you are. And
Well, you know,
I appreciate that. We appreciate that so much.
it's a no brainer. I mean, you got some people out there with their head up their ass, but to make the path wider is my job, and it's you guys' job for the people who are coming up behind you.
Right.
Because there's so many of you, um, and the younger girls, high school and college, now have choices that maybe you didn't have when you were coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a whole lot of people out there that want to write romance now that we got so many y'all out here, um, and that's a good thing. So
Yes.
it becomes your job to try to make it easier for them to have their own show on YouTube interviewing you know, after writing amazing books.
That's
So and not deal with that old crabs in a barrel kind of thing and that, oh, well, I got mine, you get yours any way you can. That ain't how it's supposed to work.
right.
At least in my world.
I agree.
You know.
1,000% agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It just makes it better for everyone. It's just like
Yeah. Yeah. I ain't got time for bullshit. I mean, there's a whole lot of other bullshit we could be dealing with. We ain't got time to be arguing with each other over whatever. So anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm trying not to
Well,
cuss a lot.
well, this year has been to say it's crazy is the understatement of the year.
Right.
And so, with all of the horrible things and the disasters that's been going on, there has been some good news in the year. And so, you've had 3 new deals. This happened this year,
Yeah.
which we're super excited about. One of which is the Hope Town project with Al Roker
Yeah. Yeah.
Entertainment. So,
I didn't
tell
know
us
it.
about how that came about and what we
Well,
should expect.
Lane Schefter Bishop, I think that's how you pronounce her middle name, um, has been shopping it around for maybe 2 years,
Mm,
18 months, 2 years, trying to get somebody to nibble.
mm.
Um, and then I didn't know about Al Roker till the press release came out. I was like,
Wow.
what? I was as
Wow.
surprised as anybody else. It's been a blessing. I haven't seen any kind of paper or any of that. I'm sure it's lots going on in the background. Um, but he has a history with uh, foster siblings,
Mm.
which I didn't know. In fact, I didn't even know he had an entertainment company. That's how clueless I was.
The only reason why I thought I knew that is because we're a big mystery people. We watch a lot of mysteries, and on the Hallmark Movie and Mysteries channel is I can't remember the name of it, but one of those cozy, because most of the cozy mysteries is all pretty much the same. It's some
Right,
white woman who is a childhood star who is
right,
serving, solving murder mysteries or whatever. And so, like, it's hardly ever even men or any people of color. And so, finally, Holly Robinson Pete has one
yeah,
where it's her and Rick Fox, and
okay,
that
ooh,
I'm almost positive. I remember that being Al Roker's entertainment group. And
okay,
so,
okay,
when I saw that he was doing Hope Town, I'm like, yay!
yeah,
So,
yeah. Pretty excited. We don't know what the format's going to be, whether it's going to be a series, whether it's going to be, a series of movies. I don't know. When I know, I will let you all know. But sometimes you can get options, and sometimes they never show up. So hopefully that's not going to happen with this.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but it's pretty exciting. Pretty exciting.
I can't imagine why they wouldn't do something with it, because like we're starting to see more movement even with the movies and stuff. Because
Yeah.
speaking of Hallmark, for longest the Christmas movie field is it's huge,
Yeah.
but it was very, all the same thing.
Black and brown
Not
people did
many of
not.
us, and the
Black and brown people did not have Christmas on Hallmark or Lifetime. We didn't have Christmas. I don't know what we did on the 25th of December, but we didn't have Christmas. So
the last 2 years, or maybe even the last three, it's been more and more diverse. And like
and that's good.
this last year, I just saw the lineup. I'm like, wow,
That's
and
good.
it's amazing. So I
Yeah.
can't imagine why they wouldn't want to jump on that.
Yeah. We'll see.
So your latest news I saw was that your novella Homecoming is been
Yeah.
optioned by the entertainment group. So can you tell us a little bit about that, or is that still too soon?
Um. All we know is that we've signed a paper and all that. I talked to the producer yesterday. Yesterday, girl, I don't know what day it is. One of these last sometime in the last 7
These
days.
all start to run together right now. I'm telling
Oh,
you.
girl. Um, but her vision is amazing. She's a Black woman, um, and and I don't think that there have been any Black historical Christmas stories,
Mm,
which
mm.
is what Homecoming is. So she's working on some other stuff right now, but it's next in her list of stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to the Sony deal for Forbidden. So many characters, so little brain power these days. It was like, what's the name of the damn book? Forbidden. Um, and we'll always be grateful to the Koch sisters out at Robotis for having my back on that, and and pushing Forbidden to the top of their list, or at the top,
Wow.
among the top of things in their list for their deal that they had with Sony for the first look. So that has been put on hold by COVID. It has been sold. I can tell you that. Um, in fact, the showrunner said that usually when you go in your pitch, and I don't know nothing about this. I'm learning as I go along. She said usually when you pitch, she said they'll get back to you in a couple days or a week or sometimes a month. She said they bought it before they even left the room.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
So I was like, oh my God. So
That is awesome.
it is awesome. So waiting on that. And I keep telling people I need a helmet. All these blessings that's falling out the sky on my little head. You know, I
That's
need a
a good thing.
bicycle
We need
helmet.
and we needed some good news this year, right? So
Right. Yes. 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 So
we're
hopefully,
all living vicariously through you.
yeah. So hopefully we'll have, you know, and my thing is too, is that this opens the door for more of us
Right.
to have film projects or TV projects, because Black love matters, and it would be nice if the mainstream media would recognize that a little bit more, or recognize it at all in some cases, because there's so many of us out here who have been, like prophets in the wilderness, with our stories, and the readers would love to see their favorite Black romances from all their favorite authors on the screen. So we'll keep hope alive, as Jesse says. Keep hope
Yes,
alive.
absolutely. And speaking of the screen, uh,
Uh-huh.
I was so excited to even be a little part of being able to contribute to the making of Deadly Sexy.
Oh, yes.
Amazing with Iris Bowling.
Oh,
Y'all
Iris
did y'all
is.
thing with that movie. For everybody viewing, if you haven't already seen Deadly Sexy, you need to, especially because I know most of y'all are Amazon Prime people, just like I am. So go to Amazon Prime and look for Deadly Sexy, the movie
Right.
that Iris Bowling did with Miss Bev for her book. It is such a good movie. It's such a good movie,
It is
So I'm
for a little
like,
bitty
that's
independent
better than a
film.
lot of stuff I've seen in theaters. So I'm like, okay.
I know. Iris is, she's probably the most amazing person I know.
She is doing it.
I mean,
She
she
is
is,
saying, I'm telling you, that movie is so good. I've been thinking about it for long, so I'm like, I gotta go back and watch that movie again because I
yeah,
just loved it. I mean, I bought
she's,
it and I got it, but I just loved it and I want to watch it again ever so
yeah,
often.
she is definitely a force of nature. Taught herself filmmaking because she said, I'm tired of waiting on these people. I'm just gonna green light my own stuff,
Hmm. I heard that.
which
And
she,
it was cool that it allowed all of the readers and stuff to participate in a way, they could contribute or whatever, because
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
a Kickstarter or one of
yeah,
those things like that that y'all do,
and you
GoFundMe
know,
or something like that. Yeah.
yeah, and if, I wish we had been able to raise a bit more money. We could have really, really, really done it up had we had enough for even a bottom line budget. But she produced it with, buttons and
Yeah.
shoestrings and safety pins and,
I would
all of
never have
that.
looked at it and been like, oh, they this, I nothing about it makes me look at it and say, okay, they ain't had a budget they wanted. You know what I'm saying? I've
Yeah,
seen movies like
it's
that. I've seen movies all the time. I'm like, no.
yeah. She did. They did such a great
It's
job.
so
Oh my
good.
God,
Y'all go get the Deadly Sexy, the movie, okay?
you love it.
It's
Yeah.
on Amazon.
And Travis Cure ain't hard. Ain't he ain't hard on the eyes. I mean, he real easy on the eyes.
That doesn't hurt. And it
No, it
was
don't
so
hurt.
much fun because that year we went to Lashira's event, lights, camera, action,
Did he
and
cut up or
Travis
what?
was there. Oh my
Did
God,
he
he
cut
is
up
a
or what?
freaking ham. He was
He
eating
is.
it up.
He's a mess, but he's a nice guy. Uh, But yeah, I hadn't seen him cut up before, and I'm like, okay, I got you now. I got
I
you.
remember hearing Iris say, "Boy, put your shirt back on."
Yeah, Yeah,
that was an awesome
that was a
event.
lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. But
Wow.
yeah, Deadly Sexy the movie was great. Um, she's supposed to be doing one of Brenda's books next.
I remember hearing that. I don't know
So
which one, but I
hopefully,
remember hearing that. That's awesome.
I mean, that's who you. If you haven't had her on your show, you need to have
She
Iris.
we had I just had her a few weeks ago.
Did you? Okay.
You mean Iris? Are you talking about
Yeah,
Iris? Yes.
Iris.
Oh yeah, she's on my list. So
Okay.
Iris, if you're out there, we can do a shortcut. I was going to ask you if you would be on the show. So
Yeah, she's amazing. I mean,
yeah,
and
I
she's
believe
just,
me, she is definitely on my list.
yeah, I mean, she can teach you so much too.
Oh my goodness.
She's the
Oh
only
my
one
goodness.
that I know who,
And she's such a just a really nice, sweet,
oh, she's a
wonderful
sweetheart.
person.
She
Yeah.
is. But she tickles me talking about, her books, and she's like, I'm not giving anybody any money because I wrote these books, all this. So she sells her books out of her website.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon gets it 6 months later. So
Wow.
she's like, no,
Wow. I didn't realize she was doing okay. I mean, she is so smart.
she's a force. She's a
And she is
force.
quite the businesswoman. She's, for anybody who's not familiar with Iris Bowling, she had her own series. She turned it into a TV series,
Yeah, yeah,
the
she's
Heart
amazing.
series, and
She's
so that's how
amazing.
she started with the whole filming and stuff like, and it was amazing. So
She's
wow.
amazing. Yeah.
So earlier this year, you had the release of the 10th book in the Blessings series, The Corner of Hope in Maine.
Hmm.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it is the 10th book in the series. And for those who are not familiar with the series, the the basis is Bernadine Brown in book one goes to have she's married to a oil king. He's an oil president, vice president, and they make more money than God.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes for her 52nd birthday. She goes to her husband's office to have lunch with him to celebrate her birthday. And there he is doing the horizontal tango with the secretary on his desk. So rather than, break down, she takes his ass to divorce court and gets just a crazy amount of divorce money settlement. And she buys a town off eBay. It's a small historic town. It was established after the Civil War by freed slaves. And so now, a century later, it's, they have no infrastructure. There's nobody there but senior citizens. There's no internet. They barely got electricity. So, in her former life, she was a social worker. And so, what she wants to do is bring in at risk kids. When we're on the plains of Kansas, so you know where we are. She wants to bring in at risk kids to have them raised by these senior citizens old school
Mm-hmm.
to change their lives. And so we are now 10 books in the series. We've dealt with the five kids and some of the people in the town. Each has gotten their own books, and town is now thriving because Bernadine started throwing that money around. And, everybody got health care, everybody's got Wi Fi, everybody's got, she built a school, and
Bernadine for president.
Bernadine for president. She turns the world. Um, Built a church, brought in a priest. I mean, it's just been an amazing, amazing series. So we're on book 10 right now. And it's just another look at this little bitty town and these great people. Um, and Bernadine and her boo have had some issues, and so she proposed marriage in the last book. So we may get a wedding, we may not. I don't know. I'm working on book 11 right now. It's going to be a Christmas book. It'll be out
Oh,
next year. Um, I'm way behind. It's due January 1st of January. I hope I'm turning it in on time. But that's where we are. Um, and this is the series that Al Roker
mm-hmm.
is going to bring to to the small, probably for sure the small screen. Um, we just don't know what kind of format it is, but yeah, we got a 600-pound killer hog. We got little kids. We got old folks. It's an amazing, amazing series that crosses all demographics, teens, older people. We have Black church book clubs reading it. We got white church book club people reading it. We got old folks reading it. Got an email from a guy who's a retired Marine drill sergeant. He said, Miss Jenkins, I know your publisher doesn't think I am part of your demographics, but I love these damn books. Um, so they have been, it's called the Blessing Series, and they have been a blessing in their own way in bringing people to the table who may not have heard of me before. And now some of them who are brave are going back and reading the historicals because my very first historical takes place in this same town. So that's my hook. So
I love it. I love it.
Having fun.
So now we're going to switch over to some more reader questions.
Okay.
And so I'm going to start with one of the questions that was posted here in the chat. And that's Kim says, Miss Bev, how much time do you usually spend on historical research before writing your stories, specifically your first one, Night Song?
I worked on that book, Night Song, probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 years, because I wasn't planning on being published. It was just something I did after work. But after it sold, lights jumping up and down up here. After it sold, and the second book was Vivid, which is my tribute to the African American 19th century female doctors. I had to do quite a bit of research. Mm-hmm. And now, if it's a subject that I have written about before, let's say Reconstruction or the Civil War or the outlaws in Indian Territory, I don't have to spend as much time researching as I did with the first book in whatever the topic was. Mm-hmm. I have a huge historical library. In fact, I got like 6 or 7 stacks of books in the hallway because I don't have enough. I run out of room in the bookcases. Anyway, when I die, I don't know what we're gonna do with all these books. I might probably give them to my local library, but I have everything from J.A. Rogers to Dorothy Sterling to A Writer's Guide to Poisons to
writers' libraries are always interesting, and I know
they really are. They really
don't
are.
understand.
I know,
like these murderous, crazy people.
Yeah, because we got to do it right. We're gonna kill somebody. You got to do it right. But as the career has gone, I spend less time researching, but I always do research for each book. It just may not be as intense as others. So hopefully, Kim, that answered your question. And I research as I go. I will do research in the beginning, and then if I run into something that I need to research while I'm writing, I'll stop, do the research, and then go back to work. Okay.
Okay, that's good to know. So, Carolyn Hectorall.
Oh Lordy. Hey, girly.
Well, she had. Okay, here it is. Okay, so when Miss Brenda was here talking to us, we talked about, look, we as the readers and fans said that y'all should work together and do a series in which she does you do the historical part.
Yeah, we talked about
it forward into the future.
Yeah.
so Carolyn brings that up.
Yeah, Brenda and I talked about it. We were gonna do when I was doing Kimani as a side hustle. she and I had talked about at least doing an anthology kind of thing together.
Mm-hmm.
And the editors were like, well, we want to put somebody else in there. We're like, no, 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 no. This is just us. We 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 like you and we like them, but we don't want anybody else playing in our sandbox. So we couldn't come to, an agreement with them on that. So that project never took place. But Brenda and I have talked about this. I mean, but girlfriend is so busy and I'm so busy and Brenda got all the discipline and I got none. So, I don't want to make her mad with me when the book is 3 months late because I'm playing on Twitter instead of writing. Because, I tell the story. We went to Hawaii for one of our girls because we're in a travel group together. And we went to Hawaii a few years ago and everybody's down on the beach except Brenda. I was like, where's Brenda? Girlfriend in her room writing. We're like, girl, we're in Hawaii. Bring your ass down here and, sit on the beach. But, and we've gone other places where Brenda's at the desk, not necessarily yelling at the people, but, telling them that, her room don't have a desk. She need a desk, so she could. But she's a sweetheart. I just love her. And if I just had half of her discipline, I could probably be up to at least 80 books by now. But she got like 112,000 books.
I'm working on trying to develop some of that discipline.
She's a sweetheart, though. I just love her to death.
She is. We learned so much in our conversation with her. We have another question. And this is Santa Burns, I think it is. Do you work on historical and contemporary books at the same time?
Oh, no. I do one book at a time. I don't even work on two historicals at the same time. In fact, I was working on this contemporary that I've been promising my poor fans for the last 15 years over the summer, and got to the point where I had to stop to start this book that I'm supposed to be writing on. So it sort of has to sit for hopefully not another 15 years, because I can't do two books at one time. And I remember Leslie Esdale, LA Banks, God, I miss her still, was talking about she had to use two different rooms in order to write. She lived in this brownstone that she got from her grandfather. And she said she would use one room to write the romance. And then she had to use another room in the house to write the Vampire Hunters series.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, I mean, we're kind of strange, we writers. Yeah, I can't work, at least, but I can do everything in one room. I just can't, I can't work on two different genres because, the differences in the vocabulary, the differences in the flow of the sentences, and just going back and forth would make me nuts. So, yeah. So just one at a time, Santa.
All right. So we have another question from the chat. And Edwina Brown asks, how did you ever come up with the July family? I love all of this family, both from the historicals and the Blessing series.
I don't really know. I mean, they showed up the first time the twins showed up was in Tame and Jesse Rose. And they came to help out Griffin Blake, who was trying to help Jesse keep her land. And they just sort of took over the story. I mean, they were absolutely crazy. And I'm a pantser, so a lot of times these characters just show up and just start showing out. And that's what these two did. And then I found out that, they called the terrible twins because even though one's Comanche, Black Comanche, and one's Black Seminole, they had the same dad, different moms, but they're born on the same day. So they're called the terrible twins, and they're outlaws and all that. So the next time they showed up was when, and readers wanted, of course, more of them. So the next time they showed up was when Neil July got his book with Something Like Love. And it's back in that town again that I built my first book on, Henry Adams, Kansas. And he's romancing the lady mayor. So and then he had all these brothers, and then he's got a sister, and Teresa July has as many wanted posters as her brothers. So she
Wow.
has the book. Um, so they just started showing up, and then when um, I started the Blessing series, it was a matter of which town to choose to set the story, and I've created a couple fictional towns based on places where African American people actually lived, because I like putting my stories in places where African Americans actually walked.
Mhm.
So there's a matter of whether to use the Henry Adams in Kansas for this contemporary series, the Blessing series, or whether to use the little town that I have on the western side of the state of Michigan called Grayson Grove. And the more I thought about it, the more Julys came to the table. So not only are they in my historicals, they're also the one of the founding families in the Blessing series. So, um, but yeah, I love them, and they are robbing trains and you know just chaos, causing chaos wherever they go. So.
Wow, that's awesome. And Jennifer Copeland asks, when did your love of writing begin? It's two questions actually, and then her second question is, who are some of your favorite authors?
Um, I was the editor of my school newspaper in the fourth grade. I was 9 years old, 10 years old, something. Um, and I would do these little, poems and little stories and little romance stories, but I didn't want to be a writer. I just wanted to work in the library. That's it. Um, and some of the people, I'm a big fantasy reader, so some of my favorites are Alona Andrews, of course. Jim Butcher, Pat Briggs, El Penelope,
Mm.
uh, um, all these young girls that are coming up whose books I got in my room that I don't remember their names, but I got the books that I'm gonna read pretty soon. Um, but yeah, fantasy, and that's the other genre that I would love to be able to write into. So
Now that is a question someone else asked too. I can't remember who it was. I'll get to it later. But they had asked if you had a chance to do another
it would
genre,
be
what would it be? So that's the
it
answer.
would, it would be
It would be
fantasy. Yeah.
fantasy.
In fact, I have a small little dragon book in one of the. Uh,
Shannon Harper. That's who it is.
okay,
Shannon.
yeah.
If
There's
yep.
a I think it's 8 pages in the back of a novella that's tied to the Blessing series. In Crystal Clear is the name of the novella, and there's a little dragon story on the back of that. That everybody's like, "Well, when you gonna get to it?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Hopefully, before I go to the big convention in the sky. So we'll see."
And I would not have expected that answer, fantasy. So that is super cool. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. So the other question Shannon Harper asked was, how did you feel when the Roker Entertainment Company contacted you about turning the Blessing series into a TV
I
show?
was pretty excited. It's kind of exciting. Um, I just wish that I lost my mom in April. I just wished that she was still here,
Yeah.
um, because she loved that series. Her and my mother-in-law both. They passed away like 3 days apart. And I'm like, really,
Wow.
really, y'all gonna do that?
Yeah.
Um, but I was pretty excited. I think they're both up in heaven, moving stuff around and you know
Making it happen.
making it happen.
I
So,
love it.
so she'll read it in the heavenly library.
I
So
love it. I love it. And then we have a question from Ashaki West. What keeps you motivated when you have writer's block?
Since I don't believe in writer's block,
I was gonna say I don't believe it, right?
I don't have to do with it. I mean, you look at these writers and people are like, oh, I'm just blocked. And it's like, get over yourself. Find something else to do. Write somewhere, write from some other point in the story. Um, no, I don't believe in, and I know that some people do, and I'm not trying to belittle that, but I don't believe in it. If you don't believe in it, you don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, it's not that I have writer's block per se. Usually, what I find out when I run into a point in the story where I'm having a hard time, it's usually because I don't know either the characters or the story.
Right.
So that's what I usually find the problem is, as opposed to being some like mystical muse that I'm waiting for.
For me, the when I'm sitting down and being quiet, or if I'm in the shower or on my knees in the garden or something, then when the brain is clear,
that's when all the ideas come.
It'll come, and I've said often, being a pantser, my characters already know the story. I think they're in a corner of the room laughing at me because I don't know the story, and they feed me stuff. They say, okay, we'll give her this today, and we ain't gonna tell her this today. So it's not writer's block. It's me just trying to get the characters to give up the damn story so that I can keep writing.
And so, for any readers who are listening who are not familiar with being a pantser, that's just the person, author, who instead of having like a full plan of what they're going to write in advance, they just kind of sit down by the seat of their pants and write the story. So
like walking across
I'm kind of a blend of the two. I need a little bit of structure, I found out, but I need to have room to be able to change it.
Because I think it for me, if I have to, and I've said this before too, that if I have to sit down and plot out the whole book, the energy's gone from me.
And a lot of pantsers say that.
I'm ready to go to the next book. But we all do it differently. I mean, there's no, for all the aspiring writers out there is no one way to write. The only one way is your way.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever works for you is the way to write. Don't try and to write like me. Don't try and write like Reese. Write like yourself. And then that'll be your process. So
absolutely. B. Marquette says, I so wish you would expand on that dragon story, Miss Bev. It's so captivating. I want it more.
I know. I got tons of it in my head. It's just, a matter of me sitting my butt down and being disciplined enough to get it done. I would love to. I'm hoping. I see Stephanie says the twins are hilarious. Yes, they are. They are a hot mess.
All right. And so author Kay Sterling asked, and I'm kind of summarizing this. It's kind of like a two-part question. So she says, have changes in society changed some of the context around past works and characters? And do modern events and terrible parallels we see now alter how you approach the difficult and often painful past you definitely weave into your current projects?
Nothing's changed. I mean, and my readers, we were talking about this recently. They've seen this part of American history before. This is circular. This is redemption, which happened in the country right after they pulled the plug on Reconstruction. So I don't have to change anything because it's the same stuff. It's just different country, different year, different century. The underlying issues and the underlying hate is the same. And I think regardless of what books I have written, and if you go back and read them, they still hold up very well. And I think that's a testament to the stories. Maybe not the storyteller, but the stories.
Definitely the storyteller. Definitely storyteller.
So yeah, it's My readers know that we've done this before as African Americans, and we got through that, and we'll get through this too. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Mama Tony said history repeating itself is just a different year.
she's right. Mama Tony's right.
Yeah. And then we have another question and from Brown Book Series. Hey.
Hey, Shane.
Have you always been a pantser from the beginning of your career, or did your writing style change with the more books you wrote?
I've always been a
Excellent
pantser.
question, Shay.
Always, always been a pantser, Shay. That's one of the questions you didn't ask me when I did my interview with her.
Yeah.
She's great too.
Yes.
Yes, I've always been a pantser. It never occurred to me to outline a book before because it would come to me in like pieces in a quilt. I get this scene, and then that scene would come to me, and then this scene would come to me, and then that scene would come to me, and then and back then everything was on paper.
Mm.
So then I'd take all these thousands of pieces of paper and weave them together and stitch them together and to get the book.
Yeah.
So I've
Yeah.
always been a pantser.
For me personally, like when I first started trying to write again, seriously, I was trying to straight pants. And I had like 5 or 6 stories that I would start and then get stuck kind of in the middle. And like
Yeah,
I would like kind of write myself into a corner. And I'd say, okay, I'm gonna let it sit aside for like a few days and think about it. And that would turn to a week, into a month, to 5 years. And
yeah.
so finally I saw I heard an interview with Kimberla Lawson Roby, and
Hmm.
she was talking about how detailed she is with her outlining. And I was like, okay, well, I would never outline that much,
Right.
but let me at least try to see if I can, what I'm doing right now is not working. So let me see if I can get myself,
Yeah,
started again with the story. And so I did that, and I was able to finish that scene and then that chapter. And so then that's how I discovered I kind of need a little
yeah,
bit of both, a little bit of structure, but I need to be
yeah,
able to do whatever I want.
yeah.
You
Whatever,
so,
whatever works for you is what is your process.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah. Hmm.
And for anybody who has not seen the interview that Miss Bev did with Shay at Brown Book Series, she has a YouTube channel as well. Make sure you check or search for that on YouTube, and you can find that other interview
Yeah,
with Miss.
we did that in Boston.
Nice,
Yeah, well, she's in Boston, so
nice.
when I
So
was
yeah,
there, yeah.
that's you definitely don't want to miss that. So make sure y'all do that. So if there's we winding up, so if there's any more questions or whatever, y'all can drop that in there. But in the meantime, Miss Bev, tell us what you have coming next, or what we can expect next from you.
Coming next will be Wild Rain, which is my next historical. It's coming out in February, and I think Pam told me Book Riot is doing an excerpt tomorrow.
Mm,
So look for that.
wow, because
She's
that
a
comes out
lady
in February.
rancher.
That comes out in February next year, right?
February next year. Yeah,
Yeah.
February 21.
Mm-hmm.
So look for that tomorrow. She's a lady rancher. If you read Tempest, this is the doctor's sister.
Mm-hmm.
Spring Rain is her name. She's named after her Shoshone grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
So, and she's an interesting heroine. She's very prickly. Don't take a whole lot of shit.
We love it. We love it. We've talked about that a lot on this show, about people liking prickly heroines, or authors saying that they're going to write a prickly heroine. So
Yeah,
for those of y'all that prickly heroines are your jam, Miss
yeah,
Bev got y'all.
yeah. She's, and she's more than prickly. She's just like straight up, get out of my life. I don't need you here. And I don't know. I guess he's my first cinnamon roll hero. I mean, he's very soft and he's a reader.
Mm.
Every time you look around, he got a book in his hand. Um, when he not, you know, rocking her world in the bed. Um,
See,
so I
that
got,
sounds perfect to me. That's like them two things.
yeah, yeah.
That's
So I
perfect.
got
That's
to
perfect.
do the history of the African American men in the Navy in the Civil War. a little bit on horse raising and training, and yeah, she is badass.
I
Bad.
love badass heroines, and I also just love how strong your heroines are, and just you know,
Well,
they give us so much. They just give us so much life. We love it.
I'm glad everybody loved because I love my heroines, and I really enjoyed writing her story, and she is like she's tough. She's a tough lady.
Yeah, there's definitely some characters like they're you kind of just really, really love them, or you remember them so much. So,
Yeah, yeah. I
and JB says, "What's going on with Sweet?"
Oh, I know. I'm sorry. He was the book I was telling you about that I've been promising them for 15 years. I had to put him up so that I could get the blessing book started. I'm farther along than I was. So hopefully this is one of the books in my Detroit um, romantic suspense series. So he's one of the brothers, even though the original brothers don't know that he's one of the brothers.
Mm.
Lots of drama, lots of stuff. So, because he's a former gangster. So, yeah,
Give
interesting.
us a little bit of everything, Miss Bam. Just a little bit of everything.
Girl, I'm all over the map, all over the map.
From here, from the past, the good
Yeah,
guy, the cinnamon roll guy, the gangster,
yeah, he
just
got a lot
just
of,
hitting it all. I love
he
it.
got a lot of swagger, a lot of swagger. It's
All
fun.
right, all right. So, for where can people connect with you online? Because you have a very robust
Yeah,
reader
I
community.
do. Yeah, I have. You can if you're into the blessing books. I have a small presence on the Hopetown page, which is the Roker inspired Facebook page for the Hopetown Project. I think there's like 3,000, maybe 2,800 people there. So you can ask to join that, as it's a private group. But if you just like want to hang out with me, look me up on Facebook. There is a Fans of Beverly Jenkins page, which is run by Monica Johnson, and they have way too much fun. Way too much fun. Um, I have what is supposed to be your private page, but that's my main page. But the numbers are limited. I can only have 5,000 people on that. So we do most of the stuff like the book club and all of that on what is my brand page.
Mhm.
So you find that with, um, I think that's just Beverly Jenkins Facebook or something. Anyway, you don't have to have friend requests for that one. Or you can follow me on Twitter. I am at author Miss Bev. I'm there way too much. Um, but I love Twitter. Um, I've gotten, and people, and authors, um, you maybe should have a social media presence. I have picked up quite a few readers from hanging out on Twitter. So it depends on what your comfort level is. But like I said, you're the only person selling your pizza, so get over yourself.
I love that that phrase. You don't want to sell your pizza, and that's definitely something. Again, for people who are introverted or whatever, it can be harder. The whole sales aspect of it, because whether you are traditionally published or indie published or whatever, like you said, you got to sell your own pizza,
Yeah,
and
say
so that can be harder for an introvert.
yeah,
So
sure, yeah,
I had to learn, like, okay, what is it that I enjoy doing? And so, connecting with people, just look at that connection that,
yeah,
that you want to make. And that's what social media allows you to do. And so that's the thing that can be challenging for those of us who are easily distracted, because that's a part of what we do as well, establishing that platform on social media, but it can also be distracting from the thing. Like you said, it's the main thing is writing them books.
yep,
So
yep. And and
I'm still trying, I'm still trying to work out that balance.
I'm
So,
always looking for a distraction. Always, it's like really, you're gonna make bread today? You got a book due. So
that is,
don't be like me. Don't be like me.
oh my gosh. Yeah, yeah. I got that completely. And so for anybody who's looking for Miss Bev, all of the social media stuff that you have is you probably can get access it from your website. I'm almost sure.
Everything's from your website, and the
So
website
her website link is below because it's beverlyjenkins.net. So that's in the description for the show. The link to Deadly Sexy is in the description for the show.
Thank you.
Or the Hope Corner of Hope in Maine is in the as well as Rebel.
Okay,
the links to all of those are in the description. So if you're looking for any of that stuff, you can find that in the description below. So again, if you appreciated having Miss Bev come talk to us, don't forget to hit the like. And if you enjoy conversations like this, so hopefully I can
subscribe
talk to a few more folks.
Subscribe
so
to
subscribe
Reese's
button. So
thank
subscribe.
you,
Miss
Bev.
Bev.
You're
This
welcome.
was awesome. And thank you all of you for joining us today.
Thanks everybody who came.
Everybody have a good night, and zen out, do some yoga or something, whatever we got to do to
get a good book
to deal.
Get a Reese book. That'll help you get through the night. Okay.
Thank you, Miss Bev.
All right, ladies.
Y'all. Take care.
Bye-bye. Thank you.